Hello, dear friends. It's a great pleasure and honor for me as a director of the Finnish Institute in Stockholm to wish you welcome to the opening of this design exhibition, Wild at Heart. It's nice to see you all here, and I think this is a proof of a strong reputation of the Finnish design and a curiosity to learn more about it. 2 years ago, the Finnish Institute in Stockholm decided to find out what people in Sweden relate and associate with their eastern neighbor, Finland. And the answers actually produced only few surprises for us. Finnish design and Finnish designers has a very strong position in Sweden, as in many other European countries. Finnish design is present in almost all Swedish homes. But it's mainly the big names and the classic trademarks as Marimekko, Fiskars, Iittala that are well known for its high quality and distinct silhouettes, for its clean lines and natural colors. And that it's good, of course. But the survey also showed us a need to present something new, something that people haven't seen before, and update the picture of Finnish design. And here we are today. The name of the exhibition, Wild at Heart, stems from a lesser-known side of Finnish design, at least in Sweden. Behind its often modest and practical front, there is a wild sense of humor and passion to be found and to be enjoyed. 11 designers were selected to show their works in this exhibition. What all these creators have in common is that they move into the intersection of art and design and work fearlessly with wild hearts and open minds. This exhibition, Wild at Heart, was initiated by our colleagues at the Finnish Institute in Germany in 2018, when Finland was named guest country at the Vienna Design Week 2019. The Institute in Berlin is not only working in Germany, but also in the German-speaking part of the rest of Europe. The exhibition turned into a large-scale international production when Finnish institutes in Budapest, Stockholm, and Tokyo joined the collaboration. But it was showed for the first time in Vienna Design Week, and then it went to Budapest. And we are very proud to be showing Wild at Heart exhibition in Stockholm Design Week and during the rest of the spring this year. And after that it continues to Tokyo, and it will reach its final destination at the Habitare Interior Design and Furniture Fair in Helsinki in September 2020. Strength lies in cooperation, and a project like this wouldn't have been possible without a great teamwork. The Embassy of Finland in Stockholm, Business Finland in Stockholm, and Design from Finland and Habitare Fair from in Helsinki has been working close together with the Finnish Institute in Stockholm and has contributed to the program during the exhibition. We have also had very good cooperation with Sweden's National Center for Architecture and Design, Archtes, and together with them we offer workshops for schools. We owe a big thank to the textile manufacturer Lapuan Kankurit, as well as to the woven vinyl flooring company Bolon, who have been important supporters of this exhibition project. We will start this afternoon with a design talk, where we, among other themes, will touch upon the relation between design and social impact. This will take approximately 45 minutes, and after that the exhibition will be officially opened by the Finnish Minister of Science and Culture, Hanna Kosonen, and after that we invite you to see the exhibition with your own eyes in our gallery in the first floor. Then you are also welcome to use your drink ticket. Please use it today, because tomorrow it's not valid anymore. If you want another drink, you are welcome to buy it from the bar. I will now give the floor and the microphone to Salka Hallström Bornold, who is the Deputy Editor-in-Chief of Form magazine, who will moderate our design talk. Once again, warmly welcome, and I hope we will get an interesting afternoon and evening together.
Yes. Yeah, my mic is functioning. So, yeah, welcome to our design talk here tonight. As said, I'm Salka Hallström, Editor-in-Chief of Form magazine, one of the oldest design magazines in the world, actually, covering Nordic design. Big fan of Finnish design myself. And I'm your moderator here tonight. Happy to be here again as a moderator, not the first time. So our theme tonight is taken from the design exhibition Wild at Heart downstairs, as you recently were told. There's a vernissage here tonight. And it's about design and social impact. How can art and design influence society and promote change? How about ecological and social responsibility within the design world? In other words, sustainability. And what role do design museums and institutions play? What role do traditional crafts have in today's design? Should designers have a responsibility to preserve traditional crafts in their work? Interesting questions, big questions, and I would like to introduce to you our three panel members tonight. Mila Vitara, Mari Martikainen.
Hello.
And Sasame Patterson.
Hi.
Yes, so would be lovely to hear you tell us a bit about the very interesting work that you're doing, starting with Mila and your work with glass traditions in Sweden and Finland. Very interesting.
Thank you.
Tell us about it.
Okay, so my name is Mila Vitara and I'm a glass artist, but I have a background in furniture design and I've escaped into the arts. I think since I was very young, I've been really a little bit more artistic probably than designerish, but it's only in the recent years that I found this kind of courage to do the things that really excite me. And I think it's kind of a closing of circle to be here today with the Wild at Heart exhibition and invited by Tero Kuitunen, because the driving force behind my work has been for many years this one encounter with an annoying Dutch designer in Bar Basso in Milano. He told me that Finnish design is the least sexiest design I know. It's the most boring design I know. That provoked me so much that I'm kind of still running on that fume. So, I really got provoked, and I really got kind of annoyed that when you Google Finnish design, the picture results, most of the stuff there is 50 years old at least. And I have nothing but respect to the old masters, nothing but respect. However, I really, really, really want to refresh that image search. I really want to show what's really going on. And I've been a teacher in many universities. I teach creative thinking, and that process led me also to my own kind of liberation into the arts. So I just rang up some glass blowers that I want to do some testing, because I think glass is most beautiful when it's not controlled. When you have like a really controlled form, you cannot see the origins of it, because glass is so wild. It's a wild, wild, sexy material. And I didn't want to control it, so we came up with this idea of improvising in the hot shop. And then I thought, I don't want to put it I don't want to put the glass pieces on just a drawer, because they don't catch light, you don't really see them. So I started making these big mobiles. And I've been making those for 2 years. And I feel like I've been shot from a cannon, because just to start with, I got a big exhibition in Design Museum. And then since that, I've exhibited in, I think, 7 or 8 countries and 12 exhibitions within a year and a half. And my kind of self-esteem doesn't catch up to that success. I still feel like, what? Why are you calling? I can't almost take that the most kind of fluent thing that I ever did doing these mobiles is something that other people are interested in. And I'm always so surprised, because it's somehow so effortless for me to do that work. And one important thing why I started to do that is the hot shop where you make the glass. It was empty all the time. It was empty. And Finnish design got known from glass. You know, Finnish artists went to Milano Biennale, and then the whole concept of Finnish design was born out of that we went abroad, we showed what we were doing, and we are kind of based in that, and we have such amazing tradition. And it was kind of fading away. And the same thing has almost happening in Sweden, I think. At least the glass blowers that I know had the kind of same problem, that making glass is so expensive that even glass blowers cannot afford it. There's not enough work. And that's because we only buy things that are industrially made. So my revolution, and I think the generation revolution that we are upon, is making things by hand, buying even. It doesn't mean that the mass production will die, but it means that we buy different things. And when you know the story, my vase came from this village, it was made by this person, it's a small series and everyone is different, you treat the object with this kind of respect for the person's time. And I think you don't get the same respect when you think about kind of factory-made things. So I think that will change how we respect the objects that we use, and that is sustainable, because then we don't throw it away.
And where is it exactly that you have used these glass works? Where have they been produced?
They have been made in Nuutajärvi Glass Village, which is a really, really old...
sorry again?
Nuutajärvi.
Yes.
It's one of the staples. And unfortunately, Iittala factory had to move away. Yeah. And all these unemployed glass blowers got kind of stuck there. They didn't want to move. And now, to my great pleasure, it's not just me. I know Tero has been working there now, and many other young artists. It's not just me who is trying to kind of do this revolution and kind of create a new concept of what Finnish design is. But there's like a buzzing there. There's like emerging artists. And you can see it also in Sweden. Like, I don't know if you know Hanna Hansdotter. She does these amazing, really sexy pieces. And I think there's this kind of newfound freedom and joy in this kind of creation and a more artistic angle of doing the work.
You can say that the village has been reborn.
Yes, it's being reborn. I think there's still seasons when it's slower, but this is what we are all, our generation of designers and artists. We are really kind of fighting to maintain the heritage, because when these guys, these girls and guys retire, we'll lose so much knowledge. And then we have to go all the way to Venice to find it again. And it's not the same tradition as in Venice. It's totally different. Nuutajärvi is, and in every country you develop this own kind of language almost to the forms and into the kind of how you mold things and preserving that. I think it's our responsibility.
There are very interesting similarities to what's happened in Sweden when it comes to glass traditions. Please, and you know all about this. Please tell a bit about it.
So I don't know all about it, but I know a little bit about it. So I think there's kind of, it's similar that in Finland. There's more similarities than differences in the tradition of making glass. There are the wild things like me and the people who do this kind of, want to preserve the kind of the moment when the glass is hot, the magic of that. And then we have the people who are so good in the clean lines, like Carina Andersson and many masters that you have here in Sweden. There's this kind of balance between the minimalist and the nut jobs like me who do these kind of really organic forms. But for me, it's been a liberation into the organics, because somehow I think that at least in my case, that the kind of doing things that completely differently is so refreshing. It's kind of, I feel like I'm like the rebellious granddaughter of Alvar Aalto. I'm not related to Alvar Aalto, but in a kind of spirit that I'm kind of refreshing things and I'm doing things differently and I'm appreciating different kind of things. We cannot do the revolution again doing mass production or factory made. We have to do something else, and it's in the craft. So I think, like for example, in Sweden, there's a few glass blowers, Normal Object Factory. They do really beautiful pieces out of glass, and it's small series, it's imperfections, it's differences, and that's the kind of juice of it.
Yes, that's very interesting, and we'll get back to you. And I was thinking that we could focus on Mari Martikainen for a while, and your very interesting work with crafts as well. Tell us about it.
Yes, our company is Mifuko, which is Swahili words, and it means a pocket. The main idea when we started Mifuko with Minna Impio, who is also here, co-founder, was that to get income to each pocket. So we studied together in University of Arts and Crafts over 20 years ago. We have known since then each other, and we were doing all kind of works, graphical design and branding and things like that. And then Minna moved to Kenya and started to call me that you should come to visit here and see what are these amazing artisans here are doing. And so we went to visit with my family, and we thought that, okay, we can do the design work, which was really lacking in the country. They have amazing skills and traditional way of making products, but everybody's doing the same thing because of the lack of the education there for the design area. So we thought that, okay, we can do the design work and maybe employ the artisans. So this is the DNA of the whole company, was to support artisans in Kenya in very rural areas. So that's our kind of like wild part in our heart, that we decided to do it differently and kind of like see the whole idea of the company in a very different way. It's not making us rich, it's like serving the whole community, and of course offering us a work ourselves, employ ourselves, and then employ the ladies, usually ladies artisans in Kenya. And 2014 we got a World Fair Trade Organization, this trademark. We are the only design company in Finland who has this label, and it's quite tight how they supervise the production and everything. So we are very, very proud of that we are combining the design work with fair trade. And now we have 600 artisans in countryside of Kenya, and so we are really making a difference in the...
And could you tell us a bit more about the crafts, the particular crafts that you're working with?
2014 we were actually in Formex, and we got first Japanese customer who was really into the baskets and saw the baskets there, and we go like, this is something interesting because it has already been disappearing in the area, the way of making the baskets, because the only older ladies knew it and the younger ones were moving to the Nairobi slums areas to get the work, and then we thought like, okay, this is a very good idea. So we get doing the design work, and this is still, the tradition is still staying alive. As a textile artist and designers, we felt that it's very important to keep that alive. So we started that, and now we are selling in 30 countries all around the world, and it's really making a huge impact in the area. Children are getting to the school, and then we have also Mifuko Trust, and we are doing dry toilet projects for the community, but it's a whole another story. But we are combining all this to the company and making this kind of cooperation, and it has been quite an adventure.
Is it a crossbreed between these Kenyan traditions and contemporary design? Yeah, very interesting.
Exactly, and the materials are going there also sourced from Kenya, and we are also doing some developing work for the materials. So we are kind of like supporting many areas there in that sense.
Okay, yes, Sasame Patterson, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Yes, I'd love to. And thanks for the Finnish Institute in Stockholm for organizing this event. I think the exhibition idea is brilliant, and it's fantastic that we can now see that happening here in Stockholm. I am working in Stockholm. I guess I'm the token Finn working in Stockholm in the panel discussion as Director General of the National Museum. National Museum is, believe it or not, it's one of the oldest art and design museums in Europe. It was founded in 1792, which is a year before Louvre was opened to the public in Europe, which is a good reminder every time we speak with French colleagues, for instance. Before coming here, I was director at the Atheneum Art Museum, the Finnish National Gallery. Before that, I was working as director of Finnish Institute in London, where I worked a lot with architecture, design, contemporary art and social sciences. And before that, I was director of the Alvar Aalto Foundation and Museum, which is, of course, architecture and design. So that, in a nutshell, what I do. And I'm actually following design-related themes from my position as Vice President of the Board of the Aalto University, which is the university combining arts and design, economics and technology, which is really exciting, let's say. Provides a lot of new points of view to the development and, let's say, possibilities. You said that you want to keep traditions alive, and I think that's actually the common factor now thinking of what museums do. Because what museums do, they certainly try to keep the traditions alive. They try to make sure that collections include relevant pieces from that represent their own time. Now, thinking about the National Museum's collection, for instance, we have more than 700,000 objects in the collection. Part of that art, part of that design. And now in relation to the collection history, of course, the first layers were laid already at the very end of 18th century, which makes it really, really interesting. And now thinking about the responsibility issues and thinking about the, let's say, how to make change. So as I see the museum collections and museums' role, before and now, they are relevant players because they provide opportunities. You said just before we started the panel discussion that having an exhibition at the Design Museum in Helsinki it really made change.
It made a huge change, not just for me, but for the glassblowers. Now, at least 2 of those glassblowers I work with have their own artistic career started, because just a little bit of kind of attention and money into their wallets makes such a huge difference. So that came from Helsinki Design Museum. Forever grateful.
So it's about showing, it's about telling, it's about investing in research and also providing platforms. And the same applies for the contemporary, that is what's happening now, but also that how it was before. And what are, let's say, the gaps in the story? My academic research let's say, specialty is in collection research. And I'm as interested in the, well, collection histories, the stories we know, but also the invisible histories, which means that things that we don't have. And that's yet another topic.
Yeah, we're talking about preservation of traditions here as sustainability, and we're also talking about social responsibility, which are important ethical factors. And when it comes to social and ecological sustainability in design, we have seen, I think, quite a lot of examples on that on the National Museum. But it would be interesting to hear from you if what your thoughts are about that subject today, because that's a very prominent tendency within contemporary design today. What are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, that's a really, really important question. And now thinking about, well, that applies to two sectors, three actually. First of all, in terms of collections, what kinds of works can be acquired to the collections in order to showcase, let's say, these themes. Secondly, what kinds of exhibitions are arranged, and of course, events related to that. And the third sector would be research. And what we are doing is that we are identifying, let's say, the relevant issues in all these arenas, and then we bring them in. I hope that many of you actually saw the exhibition that we organized when the museum was reopened after 5 years of renovation, Design Stories, where we could introduce a wonderful set of designers. Part of them really addressed contemporary design issues that also had this social responsibility angle. Whether it was purifying water in African countries, or whether it was designing good quality fashion items for people sitting in wheelchairs, etc., etc. So design can be really highlighted from various perspectives like these, which actually can also, and now I'm coming back to the make difference theme.
As you say, there are many different perspectives on it, but if you would, this tendency that we're talking about, that's probably isn't a short-lived trend. It's probably going to stay with us for a while. Sustainability. How high prioritized is this issue for you at the National Museum?
Issue in that sense that yes,
how high is the priority?
Well, I would perhaps rephrase the question, because I mean, yes, within the museum activities, there are lots of priorities. When thinking about design theme, and when thinking about, let's say, what kinds of choices we make when we plan exhibitions. So we include the angle to many of the topics, events, but of course it cannot be added to those kinds of exhibition projects, for instance, when the whole phenomena did not even exist yet, if you follow what I mean.
Yeah.
Because once we're working with historical materials, then let's say the world was different and the questions were different. And exactly. Now when we're working with contemporary issues, then we have to analyze that from the contemporary society's perspectives, and also take into account, let's say, the themes of circular economy.
Yeah, now what we see today in today's design world is that sustainability is something that is being addressed in so many ways. So, and I mean, from our perspective at Form Magazine, as we cover architecture as well, you see that architects and designers are really, I mean, they are really pushing the envelope in so many ways. Why is it that contemporary designers and architects often take on these issues of sustainability? What do you think? It's really, you really see that there's a mission there.
Yeah. Well,
why is it? Why do you think?
When you look to the history, all artists have been the ones who have been kind of like leading the way in sense. They have always been in the top of the subject, I would say, that what is in that age or time, what is the main issue in society, and they kind of like pick it up. And I think it's designers and artists' responsibility to highlight those things and kind of like through their work share the information, and in also when people are using it and buying the things, they are also kind of like educated at the same time for the phenomena in the time. And I think this is the main issue now, to get this thing kind of like sorted out.
So you're saying that designers and architects as artists are picking up on urgent matters, the most important matters of our time. I'm also thinking that this used to be the role of fashion designers, picking up urgent matters.
Yes.
But you could see that fashion is actually not doing the same, not going the same direction as designers and architects. Sustainability has been quite hard it's been very much business as usual when you look at fashion design. What do you think?
There's at least one exception. I think that I
many
must...
exceptions, of course. I'm speaking very generally here.
Tell about one exception of the rule, because there are always exceptions.
Always exceptions.
And that is our mutual friend, Akira Minagawa, who is a Japanese designer. He started a label called Minä Perhonen, which is, if translated to English, I Butterfly. At the very end of the 90s, when he, as a young student, made a study trip from Japan to, of all the places, northern part of Lapland. And there he knew that I want to be a fashion designer. Now, why the story is interesting is that his way of doing the thing is very different than compared to many others. I met him just about 2 weeks ago in Tokyo, where he has a major exhibition at the Tokyo Museum of Modern Art. And it was a lovely show because it highlighted his seriousness in terms of the production processes and the responsibility that he takes when he, let's say, makes new designs. What I specifically appreciate in his way of doing things is that he's also, and now I'm yet again going back to the theme, keeping traditions alive and also making by hands, because he employs people of all ages from all across country. He revitalizes old factories, and he said that he has only one rule, and it's that people need to be younger than 100 years. And he has seriously hired those wonderful old grannies who can still today use their singers, you know, the traditional sewing machines, and they are producing the fabrics. That's one thing. Another thing is that not only keeping the traditional handicrafts alive, but also that he's very careful with every bits and pieces of cloth. So for instance, when he cuts a piece, he sees that everything is used in detail. So the tiniest pieces of cloth will be made as kind of buttons that you can then buy.
You are very right. There are so many examples of many wonderful cutting-edge examples that you see today everywhere around. You could go to Arctus, for instance, and see the young Swedish design exhibition full of wonderful ideas, weird ideas, bizarre ideas. But I'm thinking that what we're talking about now is the artist-driven part of the design world, not the mainstream mass production. So does their commitment matter? Do you think? How does it matter? Tell me how.
Well, it matters because I think it's our responsibility to... Some artists are really good at kind of pointing the finger at the problem. But I find it more interesting to showcasing what the solutions are. Because I think the only way that we can really kind of turn this ship around is to paint a picture of the future that you want to go into. You know, it's not enough to kind of point that we have problems here, and by the way, we're all kind of swimming soon. That's a fact, but our responsibility is to show a future what you actually want. And I think the problem, you highlighted the fashion industry, and the fashion industry is so tied to the short circles, and the business is so tied to the short circle.
And the business is also very multinational and very dirty, and it takes a long while to, change that business model.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then that's the reason why fashion designers, so many fashion designers that I know, are in a kind of in a standstill. They cannot support the business that they are in, but it's still not yet time to find the they're looking for the other alternatives. Yeah. And I think in design and in architecture, I think making different choices is you can do it faster, because architects can do one house and make the decisions about the one house. But when you think about the whole fashion industry and the big companies, the whole structure is based on selling so and so many seasons and so many collections and Akira Minagawa is a perfect example. He told me once that he went to a factory and said, I will order as much as you can make. I will keep your factory alive. I will take responsibility for it. And that's his approach. And he calls it slow mass production. And I think it's genius. I think that's one answer, and we all have different kind of answers to the same topic, and it's exactly like you said, that it's our responsibility, and it's also because doing creative work, we do it from such a vulnerable place that we are so. I have a solo exhibition in Helsinki, and I'm in such a vulnerable state. My husband tells me, or my boyfriend tells me, that you're impossible when you're exhibiting, because doing artistic work is you're so close to your emotions. It feels like, when I used to be a designer, it felt like I was writing reports, and now I feel like I'm writing poems. So it's like, when you're so close to your emotions, I think then you also pick up, the polar bears. It's that you're so...
The polar bears.
Yeah, you're kind of twined into kind of getting the signals from the world as well. So I think that might be at least my reason of why I want to make changes and I react. Because it's... The creative work is so emotional that I kind of get stuck in them.
About this, we really do have this slow mass production in our company. So I know what you mean by that, and the idea of that we are really highlighting each artisan so that we are having handwritten name of each of them in each product. So that's also the way I see it, that it's going to be a new normal in companies, because consumers are more aware. The whole world is coming more transparent because of the social media and internet. So people really get the information so much easier. And when you get these small ideas of, okay, this is made by a person, somebody, somewhere, it makes you the whole consumer idea changes, that I'm going to be a part of this chain, and what kind of chain it's going to be, and do I want to be a part of it? What's in the very end?
Yeah. May I comment on that?
Yes.
Now, reflecting on the experiences of my young adult daughters, one is 22, living in London, studying there. The other one is 19. Both are super conscious of exactly that.
Yeah.
So once they are,
Here, I'm my house.
So if they are buying clothes, they want to know that who made this, and they are actually supporting
The new generation.
those kinds of fashion designers who, well, in the most cases, they work from home, and they produce very, very small, quantities, but they know the story, and the stories become ever so important. And of course, second-hand market and all that. So it's a sort of a building consciousness. And if you combine that experience and knowledge to the experience and knowledge that even our generations still carry with them from the Second World War, because our grandparents and parents have been there and shown that what it takes when there's nothing, and what it takes when you have to actually, in order to get new clothes, you have to take the curtains from the window and be creative and sew new pieces from that. So I find that is actually really, really interesting, and if I may predict, there will be a sort of a new era of, let's say that we really are slowing down and we are choosing less but better items.
That sounds absolutely wonderful. And let's get back to that, to visions for the future. Because looking at the design world today, if we would look at it very simply, black and white, we see polarization as we see elsewhere in society. We see big elephants, presumably greenwashers, and then do-good artists like you and do-good institutions like yours. Then we had the last few years, or 1.5 years, since that very, very terrible dry summer that we had, we have seen a great shift, I think, in the debate. We have Fridays for Future, we have Greta, which we are very proud of. So what do you see? You formulated a very wonderful vision for the future here, but where do you see the wind is blowing? Where are we going?
I want to say, because I love the mic, but I think, I hope, but I think also that in just a few years, I think kind of using materials, kind of natural materials, will become more difficult. I hope so. That we have to use closed cycle things, and I think that is something that we as artists and designers can always influence, that only using things that are kind of going around or thinking about how long will they stay in one consumer and those kind of things. This is the trend that we're pushing for. This is the trend that we are pushing for as hard as we can, and I think that when there's enough demand, then the answers will follow. But I think it's so important also to be. I know it sounds horrible to be excited about the future these days, and we are so worried about the future. But I think it's so important because I'm also a teacher of creative thinking. And I know in order to have creative ideas, you need to be excited. So for that reason, I would still encourage everybody to be excited about the future, to finding the solutions. Okay. So I think that is one big kind of answer to your question.
Very optimistic answer, yeah.
Yes.
What do you say, Mari?
As I said before, I hope really, and I believe that it's going to be a new normal. This kind of sustainable, ecological, traditional companies who are really having this heritage of the nature and giving it all for the values what they have. And I have seen this movement in Finland in many companies, and I have said that it's the new strength of Finnish companies, and we should really be proud of it and support it more, because it can't be something that it's our next trade hit for the world, that there is this kind of companies with values of sustainability. I believe so.
Would you like to add something?
Yeah, I would actually add a voice from the students, because if I now shift him from my role as Director General of the National Museum to my role as a Vice President of the Board of the Aalto University, one of my wonderful, wonderful opportunities is that I actually meet the representatives of the students before every board meeting. And during those meetings, I'm always asking a set of certain questions. And based on all those discussions with the students, it's crystal clear that the students will come to the university. They want to come to the university to solve the problems. And they want to be very specific on that, how they can contribute to the better world. And that is very, very different. When I was studying, for instance, at the end of the 80s, no one thought about these things. No, because it was not the melody of the time. But now it's very, very topical. And I think that it's good message for all of us here, because then the future will be in good hands.
Because they are the future.
They are the future.
Wonderful last words. But is there anybody from the audience who would like to pose a question? No? Nobody?
It's almost like a Finnish audience now. Now, this is very appropriate for the Finnish Institute, because in Finland it's tradition that we don't ask questions or comment.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. First, my name is Amer, my wife Lulu. We're both designers,
Hi.
interior,
Oh,
graphic, and
welcome,
visual
yeah.
design. And it's a very interesting topic to us. We came all the way from Bahrain. We live in Bahrain. We're from Syria.
Yeah.
To hear about this and to see how design here, because Scandinavian design, I mean, wow. And thank God we have you designers here for Finland and Sweden to solve those problems. But these problems are international.
Yes.
When you're talking about mass production, it's international and it's related to sustainability because we believe it's becoming fast fashion now in the design industry for furniture and for visual design. And we are standing against that. I think what you're doing, all of you, is what contributes, and we want to follow those steps. We think that we have to hire designers and artists from local places and all around the world. We have to sell customized and personalized objects and products so it lasts longer for the people. But it's really hard for us. And we don't know, I mean, here the design community is big.
Yeah.
We came from a very small island called Bahrain in the Gulf region. I don't know if you know it. Between Saudi Arabia and Dubai. Okay, it's a very small island. So the design is imported, if you know what I mean. And it's becoming so much fast fashion. And we're fighting that. And we're finding it very difficult. So any advice from you, what we can do, how can we fight that in a country that doesn't have the history of design?
I have one idea.
Yeah.
I have one idea. My idea is go to the worst company and make small changes there. If you don't break your heart too bad doing that. But I think the ones who have the most fight in them should go to the companies that are the worst and kind of change them from inside. But usually we are too sensitive for it. But I still encourage the fight.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And also, I think that you should start to research and list all the traditional way of making whatever, fabrics, baskets, wooden things. If you have a certain kind of tradition there, you go and search for that, and then you think that is there something that we could come up and develop from there, from your own history.
Good.
Yeah, so we are staying a bit more here on the stage. I'm thinking about that we could talk a bit more about the big design industries. What is your viewpoint on that? Has there been a change? Because there's nothing more trendy right now than to talk about CSR, and it's been going on for quite a while, and talk about sustainability and so forth. Is everything greenwashing, or do you have any experience of big companies, the big elephants, really being honest about becoming circular and everything that they're talking about? What are your viewpoints about that? Do you see it all as greenwashing or no? No.
I don't think it's. We cannot say that it's only greenwashing.
No.
No,
of course not.
We cannot say that before seeing the background. But for example, we have the World Fair Trade Organization label, and it's very strictly like supervised. And then you see a lot of companies who are talking about fair trade, but you don't have it anyhow. Like, it's not clear for the customer. You can say it, but it's very like there is a lot of gray areas that customers and the consumers are a bit lost. But I think there has been improvements in many ways in Finnish companies, for example, and they are really working on it. I have seen the examples that it has happened, but it's all these labels and all these terms are a bit unclear for the end consumer, I would say.
Yeah.
You can really easily get misled.
And have you seen really good examples out there? Maybe Susanna? No?
Yeah, well, what I'm thinking of is, for instance, the serious product development this comes from a bigger company, Stora Enso, which is developing sustainable, wooden materials out of which you can actually build high-rise buildings. And that's a big change, because then you actually take safely into use materials that are much better for building, much better for the environment and so on. But of course it requires lots of innovation, investments and all that. But companies that can afford that certainly can also contribute to the better world, the better change. That's one example. Another example that comes to my mind is the development of new textiles, fabrics that are used or produced from birch trees. And that's yet another, let's say, solution to one of the wicked problems of the world in terms of the circular economy, which is that the most difficult material to recycle is actually used clothes. So this sort of fast fashion phenomena that we have been referring to actually causes massive problems in terms of, piles of T-shirts that are very, very difficult to recycle if compared, let's say, with plastic or paper.
Yes, and as we are people that move around a lot in the design world, we often see fantastic examples of material research, right? From everything from textiles to, as you say, Stora Enso, and when we go to Milan and when we go to fairs all over, we see these fantastic ideas. And then we go to our regular shops and our regular everyday environment, and everything is business as usual. Don't you agree that you feel a frustration that all these fantastic ideas and research don't go into the industrial machine, so to speak?
I think
you
it's
don't
growing.
see the industrial scale. You still see plastic bags. You know why? We have seen so many alternatives. What do you think?
I think it's slow. I think it's slow to bring it into the industrial scale. It's such a slow process to do something in a big scale and kind of test it and everything, and that's one of the reasons why we have to kind of be patient with it, but also very demanding for the companies to kind of develop them further.
Yes, to companies, but also I think it's more about all the rules and regulations that and politically also the decisions that you make, and you say like, okay, now this is, for example, Kenya is a good example that they banned the plastic bags, and now we have been traveling there for 2 years, and it's much cleaner country. So I mean, like you need to do also these kind of bigger movements in different levels. It's not all about designers and companies, even though I believe that companies are more and more part of the whole society and making an effort for the people's how they consume, but I think it's not all.
And that's also the issue with democratic countries, right? That the process is slower.
Yes,
like when
people are more like aware of their own rights.
But I think you're now picking up a very important word, and that's a consumer. That applies to all of us. So now thinking about that, what did you buy last time you went shopping? Did you choose the local bakery and buy your bread from there? Or did you go to the Coop and buy, as I did yesterday, my bread from there? They are those everyday choices, And if you start thinking of that if I can make the change by, let's say, choosing differently, by, let's say, buying as a present for my mother, for instance, something that somebody has made so that I can yet again tell the story? Or is it a quick solution somehow that I just, tick the box? So that's a, let's say, question for all of us. And by those everyday choices, we can also together start making the change.
You're an expert in speaking, fantastic last words to round everything up. So I would like to thank our fantastic guests for giving us fantastic insights into the avant-garde of design, hopefully the future. And we'll give them an applause.
Thank you so much, Mila, Mari, Susanna, and Salka. And it's a great pleasure and honor for me to invite the Minister of Science and Culture from Finland, Hanna Kosonen, to officially open our exhibition. Welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends of great design, it's a great pleasure for me to be here tonight and greet you all welcome to the opening of the exhibition Wild at Heart here at the Finnish Cultural Institute in Stockholm. Finland has a long tradition in the field of design, and we are very proud of it. Many brands and designers have had an impact on the way we live in today's world and how we look at it. Names like Alvar Aalto and Almiratia are internationally renowned, and the Finnish design icons are a central part of the cultural image of Finland in Sweden. Finnish design has the reputation of being practical and egalitarian. This is also something that we share in the Nordic design. For Finns, the hallmark of good design is its ability to address societal problems and offer practical solutions to them. At the same time, Finland has a very dynamic and thriving scene of contemporary designers, as we heard. Being such a close neighbors, Sweden and Finland, we tend to think that we know each other. This illusion sometimes prevents us from observing and noticing new openings and things taking place by the neighbor. It's great that this year's Stockholm Design Week offers its audience an opportunity to learn more about the work of these exhibited creators from Finland. I hope and believe you discover pieces of design that you didn't expect to see here in the first place. I also hope you to perceive the humor and the genuine warmth in them. I hope that you and our Italian friend, which we heard about on last session, truly believe that Finns are wild at heart. Through design, we even have an opportunity to highlight pressing societal issues like climate change and its call for a need to come up with effective solutions to fight it. There is a strong tradition for sustainability in design, so we are not entering in totally new land in here. The designers and companies of the exhibition follow the guidelines of sustainability and social responsibility. I was very happy to see that when the exhibition was presented for the audience for the first time at the Vienna Design Week last fall, the topic of sustainability was presented also in many other program formats of the week. There are many parties to thank for Finnish presence here at Stockholm Design Week. This joint effort would not have been possible without the devoted work in the first place of the Embassy of Finland in Vienna, Finnish Institute in Berlin, Business Finland office, as well as Visit Finland. But even now here in Stockholm, without the work of Finnish Embassy here and the Finnish Cultural Institute in Stockholm. We are very grateful to you. Last but not least, I would like to thank curator, my friend Tero Kuitunen, and all designers and the organizations behind them. You have brought and you will bring the content to exhibitions and events. I wish you all wonderful and exciting moments and new discoveries in the world of contemporary Finnish design. Thank you.
Thank you, Hanna Kosonen. And now I have the honor and pleasure to introduce to you maybe the main persons tonight, the artists, the designers. First of all, Tero Kuitunen, who has been working as a curator for this exhibition. Please come up here, and I want the other designers to join us here. We want to give you some flowers. Klaus Hapaniemi is here as well. Andrei Hartikainen, I haven't seen him, but Tuuli Tytty Koivula on paikalla. She's here. The team behind Mifuko, Mari Martikainen, we are already familiar to you, please welcome, and Minna Impio, the second person behind Mifuka, Sofia Okkonen, and finally Mila Vitara. You were present in the discussion. I think we will give them a warm applause and thank them for a wonderful work. Also I would like to call back our moderator, Salka, and our panelist, Susanna, as the Minister of Science and Culture, Hanna Kosonen. Please give them an applause and thank them for an interesting discussion and a fantastic exhibition. And now it's time for us to go downstairs to the first floor and have a look by our own eyes on the exhibition Wild at Heart. I wish you a pleasant evening. Thank you.